Well, hello, YouTubians. Or maybe I should say good morning because it's actually morning time. Anyway, this is going to be another trucker tale story, and it's the truth. It's not made up. I wouldn't make that kind of stuff up. So sit back and get ready for another great episode of The Barbecue Trucker. Well, hello, YouTubians. Yeah, hi, Nacho. Nacho wanted to be in the video. Hang on, let me turn around and say hello to everybody. Say hi there. Yeah, I know. Little love bug doggy here. Yeah, he just wants to be right up in the everything, But anyway, welcome to this episode of the Barbecue Trucker. Get comfortable here. It is September the 1st, also known as opening day of dove season. I was sitting outside a while ago smoking me a cigarette, and man, I can hear the poor doves. I'm going to tell you, they're blasting them all everywhere you can hear. You can hear gunshots going off. So, anyway, dove hunters are having a great day today, and there's a lot of dove down here. There always is, Central Texas area. I was raised up in Hamilton, which is considered, or they call themselves anyway, the dove capital of Texas. Never had a problem getting my limit, so I guess it's true. Hang on a second, gotta find out what Nacho's upset about. Okay, I'm back. Oh, by the way, my shirt does say "Don't mess with mine." At the bottom it says "Freedom." Got a big old nice eagle on it, all and everything. Because I agree with that. Dadgummit, we had another mass shooting yesterday. I don't know what to think about that. A lot of people wouldn't like my opinions anyway on it. Because I'm thinking that video games has a big thing to do with that. I mean, I don't remember this kind of stuff happening when I was younger before we had video games, but that's about the extent of my knowledge on it, or at least my thoughts. But anyway, hope everybody's doing okay. Uh, had a nice little conversation yesterday with Brian Hall. If you get a chance, go check his videos out. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're kind of down or whatnot, go check his videos out. You will love him. He's the most upbeat guy. I cannot wait to meet him in person. Come to find out that his sister apparently lives about 5 miles from where I do. Small world, isn't it? Y'all, I promise I have my eyes open. I know they look like they're closed, but they're open. That's as far as they go. Oh, don't do that. That scared myself. Really did. But anyway, I'm not going to talk much about that. I don't know it. Oh, it kind of makes me want to carry my pistol when I head out there on the road, but I doubt that you can do that, especially going into Canada. I don't know if conceal and carry over here would more or less carry into Canada or not. I know back in the early 90s, 94 actually, I was driving for CFI, and I remember we were in orientation, and the guy that was head over he was head over operations as far as the dispatchers, the fleet managers, and all that go. He was pretty high up in the company. About a 30-year-old man, probably 6'4", 6'5", hair down the middle of his back. Rode a Harley to work every day. So yes, he was cool. He was giving us a class and orientation, and he said, "Okay, guys, I'm gonna go over our gun policy, and I'm just gonna say one statement about it, and then I want to move on. We don't need to talk anymore about it. If you don't understand what I'm saying, come see me after class. But anyway, here's a statement I'm going to say about our gun policy. I carry mine when I go out. Thank you." Well, that's all I needed to hear. So yeah, I used to always carry a pistol with me. Pretty much every time anywhere I've driven a truck or whatnot, I carried my piece with me just in case. Actually had to pull it on a guy one time who was, he opened my door, thought he was going to whoop my ass, only because I was trying to help him. He was backing in, he was blindside backing into a truck stop down in San Antonio. And I don't know why he didn't set himself up to back from his power side, but he was blindside backing old cab over, believe it or not. They had him, some of them left back then. And one of those moving company, like World Moving or something like that. But anyway, he tried backing into a spot a couple over from me, and there was a reefer unit that had been dropped. I guess the driver had taken the tractor and went to a movie or whatever. And backing in after he backed and hit that reefer unit twice, I kept telling him on the CB what he was doing, and then he started backing in next to me, and I had a brand new truck. I mean, the plastic was still on the seats and everything, well, except for the one I sit in. I can't stand that. But anyway, it was close when I kept telling him, "Hey, you're going to hit me. You're going to hit me." And well, he finally got it in there, and then he come running around, said on the radio he was going to kick my ass. Come running around, opened my door. I had a little poodle. I mean, maybe about the size of that little dog you just saw. Maybe not quite that big. I mean, it was a teacup poodle. And he opened the door, and that poodle bit him right on the back of the hand. And then I just already had it. Put it right up there to him. I said, "It's your choice whether you live or die today. I'd rather not kill you, but I will." And anyway, he backed off. And it's a good thing I had that, because it was really wild. That cab over truck, 4 big old Samoan looking dudes got out of that truck. They were all riding in that truck. And I guess they were with the moving company, and they were from California, so they'd been cooped up in there for a while. Maybe that was part of his frustration, but I just flat let him know that today could have been his last day. He needed to calm down, and then I told him, I said, "You just get finished." And because actually what happened was when he backed into the spot, he didn't say nothing. Well, one of them guys got out and stood in between the tractor and trailer to relieve himself. And he started to move the truck, and I got on the radio and said, "Hey, man, you about to run over your partner." And that's what pissed him off. I don't know why, but I let him know that today could be his last day. I'd rather not go that route. He backed off, and then I rolled my window down. I don't know why I didn't have my door locked, because he just walked up and opened it. I just didn't. But and I told him, I said, "Now, you get in that truck, and you get as far away from this truck stop as you can, or I'll come find you and kill you." I was mad. Anyway, they left. A few of them stepped behind the cab, relieved themselves, and then all 4 of them got back in the truck, and they took off. And of course, I decided I'd better leave. I was going to stay the night there, but I went to a different truck stop because I didn't, want them to come back and mess with me while I was asleep or anything. But anyway, one thing I thought that was cool, a bunch of drivers had heard that on the radio, and when I looked up, there was like 5 drivers coming. A couple of them had like baseball bats or boards, or had weapons. They were actually coming to help me. I thought that was cool. But anyway, that's not what I was going to tell you about. I just got to thinking about it. Starbucks. I love Starbucks coffee. But anyway, so I don't know, with all these mass shootings going on and all, I mean, I hate to go into Canada with one if you can't, because that's not a good thing. But golly, I almost hate being out there without one, because you never know. Just everybody keep observing, of everything around you. And I mean, I know someone comes in a car and pulls a gun and starts shooting, whether it's a pistol, whether it's a deer rifle, whether it's an assault rifle. It don't matter what kind of rifle or gun it is. It's all bad. Just, whew, like I say, I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, the story I was going to tell you about was my first time experiencing really severe cold weather. Well, my wife was riding with me at the time. She hadn't started driving yet. And as a matter of fact, she just came out with me. And we were in Nashville, and we used to like to play jokes on like other drivers. I was at CFI at the time. And because my ex-wife was a really, really pretty woman, still is, but really, really pretty woman. And So I would walk in, and she would walk in separately, and I'd sit there. I was sitting there with like that morning. I was sitting there with like 6 or 8 other CFI drivers that were sitting there at the TA there downtown Nashville, having us breakfast and all. And she comes walking in. She sits down, not too far from us. And I make a comment, man, look at that good looking girl. And yeah, I know. I don't know how I attracted one as ugly as I am, but anyway, I'd tell them, hey man, and I said, I'll bet you anything I can have that girl go sit with me at a booth, and then we'll leave together. Ah, no, you can't. Nah, nah, nah. Keep dreaming. I said, all right, well, I'm not going to bet y'all any money. We'll just keep this on a gentleman's bet. But I said, sit back and observe. Of course, we had this all set up. I walked over and she acted like, we'd never met each other before and all. Next thing you know, we're walking over to the booth and I just give them a thumbs up as we walk by. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. But anyway, I'd gotten a load to Oklahoma City. And another CFI driver had gotten a load to Toronto out of the glass plant there in Nashville, Ford Glass. And I'm going to the Ford manufacturing plant in both cities. And I don't remember a Ford plant being in Oklahoma City, but I wouldn't think that we'd pick up Ford Glass going to a GM plant. But anyway, uh, that's kind of weird. I don't know why I just now thought of that. But well, anyway, we were talking, and one thing about CFI, like if you're in that situation there, and the drivers want to switch load, all you got to do is make a phone call, and they'll switch loads, for you. And well, my ex wanted to go to Canada. She'd never been to Canada before, and neither had I. And he needed a reason that why he wanted to go to Oklahoma City to get home for something or whatnot. So kind of against my better judgment. The only reason better judgment, don't get me wrong now, anytime like someone needed to get home, I'd gladly switch loads with them and all, but there was a storm moving down. It was in winter time, and there was a storm moving down, and it was supposed to be pretty bad. So we made the switch, and I remember we got up into Ohio and hit that storm, and I pulled into this one truck stop in the middle of the night. It was one parking spot that I had to blind side back into. Back then, I don't know if they still do, but Kenworths had sleeper doors on both sides. So I'd open the passenger door passenger side sleeper door, and bungee it open, and that way I could look out through the sleeper, and it really helped you with your blind side. But somehow or another, I got that thing in there. It was snowing pretty good, and they were talking about the road was going to be shut down because of ice and all that. Don't get me wrong, trucks were out working, but it takes them a little while to get things cleared off. So I need to go to bed anyway. So we went to bed and got up the next day. Not really snowing anymore. Roads are clear, so we head on. We get up to Canada. Everything goes real smooth. Everybody's just so polite going into Canada, the border crossing and all that. And broker had everything done, and you just had these three big, huge, like mailboxes that were tall, so you could reach them from the window of the truck, and they were colored. Blue was for Ford, blue, orange, and red, but I can't remember which one was for GM. But I do remember blue was for Ford. And you just pulled up and you put the broker's paperwork in that, and you continued on to the Ford plant. And it was in the other side of Toronto, crossed at Windsor, Windsor Bridge, Detroit. And one thing about CFI back then, they had lock boxes at the terminal there in Taylor, Michigan, which is Detroit. And that way you could lock up any extra cigarettes, because we'd gone to the Indian reservation. We had like 10 cartons of cigarettes. So we locked most of them up and locked up my pistol. And that's what it was there for, so that you could lock your pistol up. I just told them I just got to come back through Detroit so I can get my stuff. And so anyway, we did that, and we headed on into Canada. And I got up to the glass plant in the middle of the night. And there was a rule that you could only be on the property like an hour or hour and a half or something like that. But so it was dropping hook and then pick up a empty trailer, which I did. Now, mind you, if you've ever been into any kind of these plants, you have no idea where that trailer is going to be, and sometimes it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. And so it takes a while. But anyway, I found the empty trailer, got a hold of it, and no Qualcomm. We didn't have any kind of Qualcomm. They were starting to work with a deal called Highway Master or something, but they didn't have it operational yet. And of course, no cell phones. And I found the empty trailer, hooked it up, had to sweep it out, swept it out real good. And I was bumping the time that I had. As a matter of fact, the yard dog driver out there, drives little yard dogs, shuttles trailers around. They come up and let me know that I had like about 10 minutes and I had to be off the property. I don't know what the rule, why that rule was, or didn't ask if they had exceptions, or anything. But anyway, during my pre-trip and all, everything looked good. No leaks. I can't remember what Brian says. I got to learn that saying, but no uh, cut hoses. No, everything was fine, except two axles on the passenger side of the trailer were froze, and I mean froze solid. Well, I didn't know what to do. I did not have time to go call CFI and let them know I had to get off the property. So I pulled it off the property. It was on snow. I pulled it off the property, and I figured, well, I'm going to head down the highway, and it was ice on the shoulder. So find the nearest place I can to get it and find a telephone, a pay phone, believe it or not. And I happened to see this one place over. What I was doing is I was pulling it on the shoulder, so that way the tires were sliding on ice. Every once in a while, I would swing out onto the pavement, which was not ice, but it was wet, and all the tires did was just smoke. It would not break loose. So I got to this little place where it was like the whole place was abandoned. It seemed like, I guess because of the weather. So anyway, I get there, and they have an outside payphone booth. The kind of, you go open the door and go in, so at least you're sheltered from the wind, which was blowing about 30, 40 miles an hour. But it has no heater in there and all. And back then, it was one of those deals where every time you called, you were on hold for 20 minutes or whatnot. And I had a fleet manager who was one of the worst fleet managers I ever had in my career. Just not a nice person, to put it the nice way. And so anyway, I called and got a hold of him and told him what the deal was. And he said, okay, well, can you stay on hold? I'm going to see what I can do to find a mechanic. I said, no, sir. I said, I'm shivering. I am really cold. I am going to go back to the truck and get some more clothes on. Because I already had 2 layers. I was going to go put some more another pair of long johns, another pair of blue jeans on underneath, and do something. It was cold. I'll call you back. So I did that, and I remember sitting in the truck, and I took a Dr. Pepper that was room temperature. It wasn't in a cooler or anything. They didn't have refrigerators in the trucks then. We had those coolers that you could plug into the cigarette lighter, but we didn't have one yet. And anyway, I had these Dr. Peppers, so I took a Dr. Pepper and I set it out on a running board, and I lit me a cigarette, smoked the cigarette. It takes about 6 minutes or so. Opened the door, threw the cigarette out. Now, okay, I littered, I guess. You can get on to me for that. I have that coming. Anyway, and I picked up the Dr. Pepper, and it was slush. I mean, it was freezing that quick. It was about 32 below zero. I'm from Texas, and I know they say, well, it's a dry cold. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter if it's a dry cold or a wet cold. That's 32 below zero. Y'all, that's cold. So anyway, I make my way back over to the payphone. I call him, and he wants to put me on hold. He does, and I'm on hold for a while. And then he comes back, and he said, well, I'm working with maintenance department and all that. And I said, well, why don't you just transfer me to maintenance department and let us handle it? And he rudely almost yelled at me and told me he had this handled. And I said, well, while you're handling that up there, I'm standing down here freezing. And I said, and also I've got to talk to you about, because you had to call them before you crossed back over in the United States. So, they want to make sure you got all your ducks in a row, because there was like at least this one form you had to have filled out to hand to the crossing border patrol guy. And if you didn't have that, it was like a $25,000 fine to the company and $5,000 fine to the driver or something like that. But anyway, he got a 3-way call with a mechanic, and that mechanic actually told me that if I didn't have a place to go get warm, to call 911 immediately. It was 32 below zero, and the wind chill was like 60 below zero or some crap like that. But anyway, so I said, well, I need to talk, and he said, well, I'm going to put you on hold again. And I said, goodbye, and I hung up on him. I couldn't stand out in that payphone booth no more. So anyway, the mechanic come and took out one of those big, what I call a Texas match, a propane torch thing, and kind of, from a distance, heated everything up a little bit and took a huge huge piece of wedge metal and like a 4-pound baby sledge. And after about 15 good pop, on it, he got it. That's how tight. That's how bad it was froze. And he got one. He got them both broke loose. I thanked him and went to a truck stop. I think it was called the Fifth Wheel Truck Stop, I believe. And by the way, if you're in Canada, and I don't know if it was just that truck stop or whatnot, but if you order a cup of hot chocolate expecting it to taste like hot chocolate you normally drinking, let me tell you something, it ain't gonna. Oh, that was horrible. But called the fleet manager and told him what the deal was. I'd never crossed back over, and I'm doing my required call. And his words to me was, well, you know something, I'm just really freaking busy. And he didn't say freaking right now, so you can just call me back in about 3 hours, and hung up on me. That's a no-no. I called right back to CFI. I told him I wanted to speak to either the president of the company or at least the head over operations. And I got the head over operations. I can't remember his name, the cool dude with the long hair. And told him what just happened. And his response was, "You're serious, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, sir. This is no kind of joke or anything. I'm serious with what just happened." And he goes, "Well, if you've heard the old saying, that's the straw that just broke the camel's back." He said, "I will take care of it." And he goes, "I promise you that." And he stepped me through everything so nice that I needed. I made sure all my paperwork and all my ducks were in a row. And he, anyway, I never talked to that fleet manager again because as of the next day, I had a new one. Yeah, they terminated him. I don't know if it was just for that or if that was, like I say, the straw that broke the camel's back, but he gone, and he needs to be gone. You don't need to talk to drivers like that. You're the first liaison that the drivers have that they're talking to, and you don't know what kind of day they're having. But anyway, so I head on. I remember I get to the border, and I don't know if it's this way now, but back then it was like going into Canada, everyone was just like, man, nice as could be. Coming back, the American border crossing guards were some of the rudest people I had ever seen in my life. I had an air leak. Didn't know what it was, but I had an air leak because I'd set the traffic going over that Ambassador Bridge coming back out of there, and I knew I had to keep the truck running. I didn't want to lose air pressure, and I pulled up there and had the truck running. He leans out the window with a mean look and all, and I had all that paperwork that I knew he was going to want, and I started to hand it to him. He goes, "Well, let me tell you something. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to shut this effing truck off." And I said, "Well, I got an air leak. I kind of need to let it run, and that way I can get it fixed when I get over here." And he goes, "I'm not accepting a thing from you until you turn that truck off. And if you don't like it, I can pull you around to customs and keep you there for hours." This guy was rude. I mean, I had to use massive restraint not to snatch him out of that booth and show him some Texas manners. But anyway, I got everything. And I went to hand him the paperwork, and he looked at me like I was a fool. He goes, "The first thing you're supposed to give me is a $5 bill." Man, I wanted to punch him. So I gave him a $5 bill. Anyway, I got all the paperwork done. It was a real quick process. He handed me the paperwork back. He goes, "Now get out of here." And that's exactly the way he put it. So I started the truck, and I had to sit there for about, I don't know, it seemed like 10 minutes, probably about 3 or 4 minutes. And I told him, "I got to build air pressure up because you wouldn't let me run." I just knew that I could keep air pressure when it was running. Got to the terminal. I'd never had this experience at all. I was telling some drivers in there, and one of the local drivers goes, "I can tell you exactly what's happened. Ice has formed on there, and it probably broke loose. And they have those little cords you can pull to drain the water out of the air tanks, and that's exactly what had happened. A chunk of ice had built up on it, and it broke loose, and it was just pulling my manual drain, and draining my air tank. So we busted that off. Nothing, no problem with that." And anyway, woke up the next morning to fuel up at 40 below zero, actual temperature. And I'm going to tell you, that's just about as cold as it gets for me. But anyway, I've gone just about as long as I need to go on this video. And one thing I started to say at the very first is I had a conversation with Brian Hall. Come to find out, his sister lives like about 5 miles from where I live. And he's going to be down here in October. And we're going to get together, and I'm going to cook some award-winning barbecue for him. and he said he needed some real barbecue. Well, he's going to get some, and homemade sides and all that. He's going to love my secret ingredient, homemade jalapeno. I call it it's cream corn. It's cream jalapeno corn. Now it's not hot. It's not hot at all because I always take the jalapenos and if you scrape everything out, the veins and the lighter part, the seeds and all that, that's where all the heat is. And it just has that great jalapeno and cheese flavor with this corn, and it's delicious. But anyway, we're gonna get to meet in person, and like I say, he's a Maverick driver, and you need to check out Brian Hall. You need to check out his videos. Most upbeat guy. I am looking so forward to meeting this guy and his sister, and I'm gonna cook him some barbecue, and we'll have us a nice visit and all that. But I guess I'm gonna let y'all go. I've gone 25 minutes of nothing. Like I say, these videos will get a whole bunch better once I start getting out on the road. And all I'm just doing this to learn how to do it and kind of get a little start on my channel. And excuse me. And so anyway, I want everybody to keep that rubber side down. Do not forget, please do not forget to thank your law enforcement, first responders, military for what they do for us. Because, man alive, mass shootings and everything is just, could you imagine being a police officer nowadays? Whew. Thank y'all guys. Thank you so much. Well, until next time, this is the Barbecue Trucker. Y'all have a safe one, and God bless.